Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin has just broken back below a key Fibonacci level, but in the short term, Bitcoin is now bouncing from this critical level of support, which I'll talk about in just a moment, while the price is still flashing a possible bullish divergence on small time frames, and more liquidity is not only building to the upside, but is also now building below the current price of Bitcoin. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before we take a look at the Bitcoin charts today, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin news today, because yesterday on Monday, we saw actually a net outflow from the spot Bitcoin ETFs, which is obviously bearish. This is resulting in some selling pressure, which is likely part of the reason why Bitcoin dumped over the last 1 to 2 days here. And so despite the fact that BlackRock is still seeing inflows, which means BlackRock is still buying Bitcoin on behalf of the inflows coming into the Bitcoin ETF, despite that happening, the rest of the ETFs here, as we could see, are mostly seeing net outflows, at least just on Monday. And so the total net outflow that we saw just on Monday was around $435 million leaving the Bitcoin ETFs just on Monday. And so that ultimately causes some sell pressure, because essentially when we see outflows coming out of the ETFs, then the ETF providers like Fidelity, for example, basically have to sell that Bitcoin that's backing the Bitcoin ETF. Whereas if we're seeing the other way around, which we usually see net inflows, of course, that means buying pressure, money coming into the Bitcoin ETFs, which basically causes these ETF providers like BlackRock or Fidelity, for example, to buy Bitcoin if they're having inflows. And so obviously, if these net outflows actually continue over the next few days, this could possibly cause a little bit more of a pullback in the price of Bitcoin, which I will be updating on over the next few days, of course, looking at these net inflows or net outflows. But just on Monday, this could have been part of the reason why we did see a bit of a pullback in the price of Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today on the weekly time frame, technically speaking, we're still looking bullish, playing out this huge bull market signal, which tends to take at least a matter of months, sometimes even up to a year to actually fully play out. And as I always say, of course, during these larger bull markets, we can see short-term pullbacks here and there along the way during the bull run. That's perfectly normal to see. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, at least for now, we're still playing out that huge bullish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. So technically speaking, not much has changed here over the last few days here on the larger time frames. We're still currently looking bullish. And if we're looking at the super trendy indicator on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, at least for now, this is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bullish market. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, of course, we still have strong resistance at approximately 100,000 to 102,000 based on this 1618 Fibonacci extension drawn from the previous bull market top of 69,000 down to the bear market bottom. Once again, that places that Fibonacci extension level at just above 100,000. And so right around that area on the price chart, around 100,000 to 102,000, expect a decent amount of resistance there. So basically the price struggling in that area. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame, over the last 1 day, we actually just saw a 3-day candle close back below this previous 1618 Fibonacci extension, which was sitting at around 94 to 95,000 approximately. So technically speaking, at least in the short term, this is a bit of a bearish signal breaking back below a Fibonacci level. And so for the Bitcoin bulls out there, we really need to break out back above around 94 to 95,000 with candle closes above that level very soon in order to continue to hold that level. Otherwise, obviously for now, this could possibly start acting as new resistance now that we're trading below that level. But if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin chart, we have this Fibonacci extension, which is the 1618 Fibonacci extension, but based on a different scale. And this is sitting at around 88 to 89,000. So around 89,000 approximately, we also should be expecting a decent amount of support if we continue this short-term pullback. And of course, that next Fibonacci extension, this 2618 Fibonacci extension at around 113,000 is technically still a major price target and a major point of resistance to watch out for. But until then, of course, we need to see that strong confirmed breakout above 100,000, which for now in the short term is currently acting as a bit of short-term resistance. And so ultimately, we're just seeing a bit of a cool off at the moment after this huge bullish move that we saw over the last 1 to 2 weeks here, which is perfectly normal to see. It's normal to see these little pullbacks or cool-offs after these huge bullish moves, and once again, that can happen during a larger bull market. And just before talking about some short-term charts that's worth paying attention to right now, first, if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin to maximize your profits in crypto during this bull market, personally, I take most of my trades over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a 500 USDT position airdrop. So basically a free $500 trade as your first trade over on Bybit, but that's only available if you use the link below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there's also Bitfinex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitfinex, which means if you're in the US or the UK, for example, or another country where you might not be able to access Bybit, you can access Bitfinex. So I'll also leave a link to Bitfinex below this video, and if you use that link to make your account, you can get up to a 5.5k deposit bonus, and only if you use that link, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitfinex exchange forever, but that's only available if you use the link below this video to make your Bitfinex account. So as another option out there other than Bybit, one that you can access from the US, once again, there's Bitfinex, links down below if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But with that being said, taking a look at this 12-hour time frame right here, these charts right here, both of these charts are now on the 12-hour time frame, so the same time frame. And obviously, if you've been watching my last few Bitcoin videos here on the channel over the last few days, you'll know about this chart right here comparing the current day price action to what we saw around 4 years ago near the end of 2020. But over my last few Bitcoin videos, I was looking at the 12-hour time frame for this side of the chart and smaller time frames on the right hand side, but right now I'm looking at the same time frame for both, now that we've actually seen a decent pullback, a little bit more of a pullback over the last 1 to 2 days, because obviously if you go back around 2 days ago, right around here, that little pullback at this stage was barely visible on the 12-hour time frame, but right now the current pullback is obviously more visible here on the 12-hour time frame. But even though we can now start to see this pullback on the 12-hour time frame, if we're comparing to what we saw 4 years ago near the end of 2020, we're still nowhere near the pullback that we saw back here. So once again, we even saw a larger pullback back here, and that occurred during a bull market. So if we're measuring out that pullback from high to low that we saw near the end of 2020, that was around a 16% pullback approximately, or this pullback right here, that was around an 11 to 12% pullback from high to low, and the current Bitcoin pullback as of recording this video from high to low has been around an 8% pullback. And so this is very much a standard pullback during a bull market. And even if we were to pull back a little bit lower into that 80k price range, like 87,000 for example, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but even if that happens, that would still be a standard pullback that we could see during a bull market. And as of right now, we can clearly see a bearish divergence confirmed and playing out in the 12-hour time frame, with higher highs confirmed in the price of Bitcoin and lower highs confirmed in the 12-hour Bitcoin RSI. So very similar to what we saw around 4 years ago. And this is currently playing out just underneath a major psychological level on the price chart, which is of course $100,000 per Bitcoin. Everyone is looking at 100k, just like how 4 years ago everyone was looking at $20,000 per Bitcoin as the major psychological level, as a bearish divergence was playing out on the 12-hour time frame just underneath that level. And if we're measuring out the amount of time from when that bearish divergence first confirmed last time to when we ultimately broke out above that key level on the price chart, that was around 3 weeks from when the bearish divergence confirmed to when we eventually broke out. Or if we're measuring from this pullback high right here to when we actually broke out, that was around 2 weeks. So we're talking around 2 to 3 weeks of a possible pullback or some choppy sideways price action before ultimately breaking out. And so I'd say it's definitely important to be patient at the moment, because it's likely that potentially for at least a week or two, we could either chop around sideways or see a little bit more of a pullback, basically just cooling off in the short term from that previous extreme bullish move, gearing up for that next major breakout that will likely come in the next couple of weeks potentially. And if we're taking a look at short-term support to pay attention to, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, looking at the volume profile indicator, the VPVR indicator, right now we have a massive amount of traded volume sitting at approximately 91,500. Or if we're looking at a price range, it's really in between around 90.7k to around 92,000, but mainly at around 91,500, we have a lot of traded volume at that level, which means that is major support to pay attention to. But if we were to see a confirmed break back below that area of support, in that case, we have some more support at around just underneath 90,000, around 89,500 approximately. And then we have some more support at around 88,000, close to 87,500 to 88,000. But if we start breaking below around 87,000 in the short term, that would be bad news, because we could see in this area on the Bitcoin price chart right here, the Bitcoin price went pretty much straight to the upside with barely any resistance or pullbacks along the way, which means if we break into that range on the price chart right there, it's likely we'll do the same, but in the opposite direction, because we have almost no traded volume in this region on the price chart in between around 77,000 to 87,000. And so as we can see, we have a huge gap in traded volume right here, no traded volume in that area, which means if we were to break below around 87,000, we could likely see a $5,000 to $10,000 drop very quickly in the price of Bitcoin in the short term before ultimately recovering later on. So for now, that is a key level on the price chart that the bulls need to hold above. But obviously between now and then, we have these other levels of support to pay attention to where the price will likely bounce from. And as for resistance, we have a lot of traded volume in between around 97,500 to around 99,000. So expect a lot of resistance around that region on the charts based on this indicator. And if we're zooming into the short term, looking at the 1 hour time frame, technically speaking, we have just now confirmed this bullish divergence on the 1 hour chart with lower lows confirmed in the price of Bitcoin and higher lows confirmed in the 1 hour Bitcoin RSI. And so obviously I mentioned in my last video here on the channel that there was a possible bullish divergence forming, but not confirmed. And since then, obviously we saw a little bit more of a pullback here, formed a new lower low. But now this bullish divergence has technically now been confirmed with one candle close in the green right here, confirming the higher low in place on the 1 hour time frame. So this means potentially over the next 1 to 2 days, we could see either some choppy sideways price action or very slight bullish relief as a likely outcome, because those are the most likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. But remember, this is only on the 1 hour time frame, so it would likely only play out for around a day or two potentially before it would start to lose relevance, because it's only a very small pattern on a small time frame. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we have a decent amount of liquidity building at approximately 91,000. But with that being said, most of the liquidity is sitting at around 100,000, and we also have a lot of liquidity at around 86,500. And so obviously, as I've mentioned recently here on the channel, if we're breaking above liquidity that's above the price, that's liquidating short positions, which can cause a short squeeze, which we saw right here, short squeeze after short squeeze after short squeeze, pushing the price higher. So once we break out above 100,000, we'll likely go much, much higher. But this liquidity below the price at around 86,500, that's the opposite. That would mean long positions getting liquidated, which could cause a possible long squeeze. But once again, that will only happen if we actually see a confirmed break below around 86,500. And so that's yet another reason why it's so important for the bulls out there to hold above around 86,500 to 87,000. Because like I said earlier, if we break below 87,000, we'll be entering into an area on the price chart where we have almost no traded volume, which would mean potentially a quick move to the downside just based on that alone. But not only that, we have a lot of longs that would get wiped out at around 86,500 if we actually reach that level on the price chart. But if you want to be optimistic about this, once again, between the current price and that level, we do have support where the price could likely bounce from. Technically speaking, we also have this new bullish divergence on the 1 hour time frame that will likely play out at least for around a day or two. And even in that worst case scenario, even if the price actually breaks below around 86,500 to 87,000, possibly causing a much larger drop, even if that actually happened, that could just be another trading opportunity, because as Bitcoin traders, we can make money even when the price is bearish using things like short positions, for example. And obviously, for those of you that are new to crypto, that were late to this pump right here, that could also provide potentially a better buying opportunity if that were to happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying watch out for that level, because if we fail to hold above 86,500 to 87,000, that is the point where we'll likely see a larger drop. But until then, we do have support to pay attention to. And once again, if you want to get prepared and set up, ready to go to take these next Bitcoin trading opportunities, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.